What an informative conversation that was. Thank you, Dr. Ngozi. Thank you, John, for giving us a very timely look at the WTO's agenda amidst a very challenging trade landscape. I'm Neil Herrington, Senior Vice President of the Americas here at the U.S. Chamber, and I'm pleased to turn the conversation to the 9th Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles, where the Biden administration will be welcoming governments from across the region just next month. For those joining us from other parts of the world who may not be familiar with the Summit of the Americas, imagine a UN General Assembly style meeting in which leaders of the hemisphere meet with stakeholders from across the region to discuss economic, social, and political challenges and opportunities to confront jointly. The Chamber is proud to be working with the State Department and the Biden administration to organize the 4th CEO Summit of the Americas, the official private stakeholder event associated with the summit. Simply put, we believe the upcoming summit represents the best opportunity our region has had in years to build public and private consensus around urgently needed resilience and prosperity in the Western Hemisphere. To get more insight on the summit and the US government's priorities in Los Angeles, I'm very pleased to now be joined by former Congresswoman Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, who was recently named by President Biden as a special advisor for the summit. Special Advisor Mucarsel-Powell is uniquely qualified for this critical role, having served the people of Florida's 26th district with distinction, and is as the first ever member of Congress to be born in South America. She hails from the beautiful country of Ecuador. And among her many accomplishments in service to her constituents, Congresswoman Mucarsel-Powell prioritized issues of importance to our region, including spearheading finalization of temporary protected status for Venezuelans who were fleeing tyranny and economic deprivation in their home country. A key priority for Special Advisor Mucarsel-Powell, a native speaker of both English and Spanish, is connecting with our country's great diaspora communities from Latin America and the Caribbean to ensure they are fully vested in the summit and in its aftermath. Special Advisor Mucarsel-Powell, we're so appreciative you could take time out of your very busy schedule to join us today, and we're looking forward to your thoughts about the administration's plans and goals for the 9th Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Neil, for having me on with you today. And I wanted to say a special thanks to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce for hosting the CEO Summit in Los Angeles in June. It's really a great opportunity to bring all the different stakeholders together in just a few weeks. I can tell you that right now, as we have been living such a critical moment in watching what has been going on in the Russian attack against Ukraine, one of the main components, and it has been since 1994 of the Summit of the Americas, is democratic governance. That has been a critical and main issue that the countries of the region have focused on. Back in 2001, all the countries in the region except for Cuba signed the Inter-American Democratic Charter, which really shows a commitment from all the different governments in the region on protecting democratic institutions, protecting the rule of law, fair and free elections, and ensuring that there's a protection of human rights. And so I think that this is a critical moment for us to be in a great opportunity to host the summit here in the United States. Like you said, we haven't hosted the summit since 1994 when we had it in Miami. The last summit was in 2018 in Peru, and this summit happens every 2 to 3 years. But President Biden is committed in making sure that we have the most inclusive Summit of the Americas today, which includes having conversations with young Americans, having conversations with civil society, ensuring that we work closely with the private sector, and bringing all of us together to tackle the most difficult challenges that we have in the region. The theme of this year's summit is building a sustainable, resilient, and equitable future. And what does that mean? It means strengthening democratic governance. It means building a healthcare system that's going to be much stronger after the challenges that we faced with the pandemic. It means dealing with the climate crisis and investing in green energy. And also, it provides an opportunity to bridge that digital divide that we've seen in the region. 30% of Americans living here in the continent do not have access to the internet. And this is critical, as you know, for so many young entrepreneurs that want to participate in e-commerce. So I'm extremely excited and honored to be the special advisor for President Biden. I look forward to your participation, which is going to be critical in focusing on all of our priorities, which I just mentioned.
Thank you so much, Special Advisor. I think what is so encouraging to us is how closely your priorities as the Biden administration, as the US government, align closely with ours in the private sector. When you're talking about things like democracy and governance, bridging the digital divide, the green energy transition, there are a lot of synergies here that are going to produce a very successful summit. So thinking about this, I wonder if the next question I can ask you is, obviously part of your work and others in the administration is talking to other governments in the region about what commitments maybe we can see government to government coming out of the summit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, one of the things that we have all agreed upon is that the summit is a launching pad to form these alliances, strengthening our ties to all the different heads of government and putting together a plan for implementation. We are very much committed in ensuring that we work closely with the entire region as we put together a plan of implementation. The governments, what they're looking for more than anything is knowing that we are strong allies, that we are working together, that we are working regionally so that we can actually tackle these cracks that the pandemic has left behind, including the economic crisis that many of these countries have faced. So I think that one of the things that we have been discussing is how do we create better opportunities for financing? It doesn't mean putting more money in. It means being innovative and providing long-term financing at lower interest rates, for example, or making sure that we bring private sector companies and we build that connectivity so that companies know that they can invest in manufacturing in Guatemala or in mining in Ecuador. And putting all of these connections together are going to really prove pivotal for our alliances in the region, but also for economic growth here in the United States as well. I can tell you that there are many companies that I've talked to that represent different areas of the private sector that are just ready to have that information so that they can actually work with different countries in the region so that that will provide growth here, but also in the hemisphere.
No, that's terrific. And I think you talked at the outset about how this is going to be the most inclusive summit in history. And that's certainly the perspective we're taking as the private sector when we get small and medium-sized enterprises to the table, diversity with women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and ensuring that they're integrated into value and trade supply chains. I guess I wonder if you could talk a little bit about those important commitments that you have with governments. Talk about how we as the private sector can collaborate with the administration and other governments in ensuring that we're driving consensus on some of these key issues that you mentioned, whether it's governance, whether it's bridging the digital divide, the green energy transition, and beyond.
I think it's extremely important, and you play a key role in providing the information to a lot of these governments as we talk about strengthening democratic governance, that part of what we need to show is that democracy delivers for every citizen, whether you live here in rural America or you're living in certain areas of Peru, that we need to build an equitable future, like you said, where we can provide economic opportunities for women-owned businesses, where we can actually bring communities that have been marginalized, especially after the pandemic, into the fold where they can participate. I mean, there's a lot, part of the problem that we have seen here and in other countries in the region is that the income inequality has really brought upon a rise in misinformation. People have been much more susceptible in believing what they're being told because there's a lot of apathy, there's a lot of resentment. That's why building upon the democratic institutions, strengthening democratic governance with the help of the private sector, explaining that, because businesses want to invest in countries where they're free of corruption, where they're protecting human rights, where there's transparency, where there's opportunity to have a strong labor market in those countries. I think that you're going to play a pivotal role in that. And that's why I'm so excited to have the Chamber sponsor the CEO Summit, have your participation, and have me on today so that we can get more people to participate in the summit in June, but also in the implementation process.
Thank you so much, Special Ambassador. It's really well said. I think for us, you talked about another important theme as to how we drive this into the future and ensure that, for us, and I know for you and the administration, we're focused on really making this much more than a single event, right? And we really want to establish a sequence for interaction, a sequence for public-private consensus and building, and all of these different kind of pillars and areas of focus we've talked about. Can you talk a little bit about what the administration has planned for the subsequent couple years when you will still retain ownership of the summit process until you hand it over to the next host?
Yeah, I think that that's all under discussion right now, but I can tell you that there's a lot of excitement building from civil society and also the private sector on possibly hosting other conferences or forums where we can actually talk about how we can, talk more about details on how we can electrify the roads and highways of not only the United States of America, but also of those countries in the Caribbean or in the Galapagos, for example. There are a lot of financial institutions that are providing financing for clean energy and resilient structures, which is what's highly needed in coastal communities, but particularly in the Caribbean. I know that part of the summit is having a plan moving forward. There's conversations of having NGOs participating and hosting different conversations on this, but also, for example, I spoke with the president of the Bank for Development for Latin America. And one of the things that he has been mentioning, and which is a very interesting idea, is bringing together the mayors of cities all over the hemisphere, because a lot of those changes happen locally. How do we get them involved? So I can assure you that the summit is just going to be the launching pad. It's the beginning of a great 2 years of really building this better future for our children and for everyone living in the region.
I love that point you ended on, because I think it's easy for a lot of us to forget that everything really happens at the subnational level. So I think that is a terrific endeavor to involve mayors, governors, heads of provinces, et cetera, around our region. I think that absolutely is the way that long-term success is built from the grassroots up. You've been extremely generous with your time, so I want to let you go, but I want to let you have the final word. Any concluding thoughts for the viewers of the Global Forum about the 9th Summit of the Americas?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that this is the most important event that President Biden is hosting here in the United States. And it's one of his main priorities to make sure that we are strengthening our alliances, building a better future for all of us. I would love to have all of you follow us on the Summit of the Americas page on our LinkedIn page, where we're going to be posting a lot of different events where you can participate. We're going to have watch parties. If you can't participate in person in the summit in June, you can participate online. Please follow us, give us your feedback. That's what the summit is about, and that's our main focus. And thank you so much for being a part of this. And I hope that we hear from you. That's the most important part.
Special Advisor Mucarsel-Powell, thank you so much for your time and especially your service in this really, really important endeavor. Really looking forward to seeing you in person in Los Angeles.
Thank you so much, Neil. See you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.